All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Barebow Project. Got a few guests here, and today we're talking. We're talking sort of a roadmap to the Barebow 520. 500's kind of a benchmark in Barebow. 520's kind of another benchmark in some ways. But I know we have two guests here. Sort of the man of the hour is Morten Sortland. He's from Norway. And then we have also another guest who played a role in Morten's sort of success as a individual shooter, Jens Fudge. Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, you're from Denmark, correct?
I'm from Denmark, yeah.
Yes. And then obviously we have just the basic JD3. For those of you that are watching on Instagram right now, it's just John Demmer. So, but we are recording Instagram. You get to hear the audio. But we are talking the roadmap to 520. And the reason that we chose to have this discussion, I want to talk to Morten and bring Yen into it because Yen is the author of a book called Choose to Be a Winner, which played a significant role in Morten's improvement over the last year. Now, I've come to know Morten through the Barebow Project and know that he is not afraid of hard work when it comes to improving archery. So Morten, why don't you give us just a quick introduction, about you and your archery, and then let's go back a year ago and start where you were mentally and where your archery was, and let's kind of just jump right into that this whole year.
Okay. My name is Morten Sortland. I'm from Norway, and I have shot for 2.5 years now, and I'm 44. Did I mention that? I started archery because my daughter wanted to start archery. And I was just sitting there and thought it would be fun. And it was. I really don't know what else to say.
Well, let's just go back a year ago,
Okay.
And talk about how you were shooting, and kind of maybe the challenges that you experienced a year ago versus the things you've learned.
Once I started, I felt I got to I've been plateauing for about a year, and that's when I contacted you a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the beginner's course and so on, and 6 months later I shot 439 at the Norwegian Nationals, indoor nationals. And I don't know, I managed to get it a little up, but basically it was around the same time. And when COVID struck, I decided that I was wondering how I could get better. And I had been listening to the podcast, and you had just started the Team Barebow Project. And I knew I was going to have some free time. And so I wanted to fill that with something. I think we had our first talk in May, and you pointed out a lot of stuff that I was doing wrong, and I actually just went most on the Barebow Project. I seen my range. I shoot at so I went out there and I started right away. And at first, I really didn't see any improvement, but I expected that. With all the stuff I changed, I was even surprised that I managed to stay at the same level. Just trying to think. I had problems understanding everything. Some was probably due to language. Other was the fact that I only been shooting for, well, at that time, 18 months or something. And but I kept working. I was shooting up to suddenly I shot 477 at once, I remembered.
I remember that.
And yeah. And okay, good. Next tournament, a little well, we don't call it tournaments, we just call it was just a regular competitions. We have very few big like tournaments. But anyway, and I always wondered that I was always working to get to 500. That was a very big goal of mine, but I was always stuck at somewhere below that. And then I had the competition in, I think it was October of last year, and the two first ends were 24. Ends 1 and 2 were 24, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but then I just thought, oh, okay, keep working. And just skipping to end 19 when we were scoring, I looked down at the piece of paper and it said 481. And as I walked back, I told my bailmate that I can do this now. It could actually happen. and then he told me that, oh, it's going to happen. You haven't been under 22 every time. Then I told him that I always dread the last 4 free. And I had no idea what happened. I guess it's the closest I've come to what people describe as target panic, but I didn't consider it that. But I did my process, and immediately I just released prematurely, and I didn't understand why I did it. And anyway, I got the 19 points, just barely, and so the score was exactly 500, and I was super happy about that. And I did the bragging Facebook thing right afterwards. And I wrote that, Jesus, the last 3 were a mental struggle. And then Jens commented on it. And I shot the first 19 arrows. I'd shot very good. I was in complete control. Well, I felt so, but the last 3 were just, it was just luck that I got 19, and that's not well. And so he commented on it. I got this book. I think you should read it. And okay, so I bought his book. I got it signed. He signed it for me, and he signed it to me. And it also comes with some audio files you can download to your phone. And I kept working with them, and it became easier. But I know I'm not done. I need to do more on it. I know this. And fell a little out of now.
No, it's all good. Well,
yeah.
While you're thinking through that, let's go back over that year, because, well, tournaments were shut down. COVID set in. Around COVID, we started the online training tournament, so you got that experience. Work through the form changes and work through them. I mean, John, I think you could admit that even when we shoot live, like, there's still a different energy that goes with that. It's not tournament energy, but there's a different energy to it. I mean, sometimes we suck on video too. Do you know what I mean? It's different, but it makes your heart pump. It makes you, feel a little bit, it's not the same as standing on a tournament line, especially at a big tournament, but it's still a similar feeling in regards to maybe partially awkwardness, partially worrying about video and camera and all of this stuff.
I do that.
Yeah. So it's not, it's not identical, but it's still good training. So you did that, you worked through form changes. You stuck to a program, you did drills, you did these things, but it still wasn't enough. You still needed
No.
another thing that was more of a organizing your mental thoughts going
Yeah,
into competing. So that's where Jens' book sort of comes into play for you. Now,
absolutely.
I'm not saying that just the book is going to make a difference and just changing form is going to make a difference. However, in some notion, I would say that both of them are necessary for everyone at some point in time. You can't
Yeah.
do one without the other. You have to mentally be organized. You have to physically be organized.
One thing I also mentioned that on one of your coffee talks, you mentioned another book, the Practicing Mind.
Mhm.
I really liked that book, but for me personally, I didn't understand how you should apply things. But and that's what I really liked about Jens's book. It came with practical examples, and he is an archer, and I really relate to it.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I think that opens the door. That's the segue to your book, what it's about, or an overview of what it's about, and kind of maybe why you wrote it.
Sure. Well, to start from the beginning, I picked up my first bow in 1987 and started shooting, and I fell in love with archery straight off. This was kind of the coolest thing that I could do. And I was born with club feet, so my feet are not really very good. So shooting archery would actually give me the ability to compete against able-bodied archers, but also against other disabled archers. So I picked up the first bow in 1987 and I started shooting and I loved it. And in 1990, I was at the World Championships. So 3 years after I started shooting, I was at the World Championships where I shot significantly worse than I normally did. Kind of had the same struggle as Morten was telling about on the last 3 ends, because I was suddenly at the World Championships and I was not really shooting the best of my game. And I figured out that this was probably my head that was going wrong. So I started looking up back there in the 90s and beginning of 90s, a lot of stuff about mental preparation and how to do this and how to do that. So I learned a lot, and I went back to the European Championships in 91 where I won the gold medal. And then in 92, I was at the Paralympic Games where I also won the gold medal. And then I didn't actually do much about archery for quite some time, because then I was doing education and jobs, and because, well, at least here in Denmark, archery doesn't pay any bills. It doesn't probably pay very many bills at any other countries, but it for sure doesn't pay very many bills here. But around 2010 something, a group of young archers, including Maya Jaeger, who was the world champion of 2013, her and some other archers, I decided to make a mental preparation workshop for them for a weekend, and I had great success. This was fun, and Maya was world champion in 2013. I like to think it's because of me, but maybe she had a small saying of it on her own too. Maybe also the Korean Kim also had something to do with it. I'm not sure, but I like to think that was my book, or not at the moment my book, but it was me that did it. And then a couple of years ago, another friend of mine asked to help prepare some young people again for, this was in this case for the Nordic Championships, which were held here in Denmark. So yeah, sure, I'd give it a whiz. And then we actually got a gold medal out of it, or a couple of gold medals. And one of the gold medals I really, really, really love, because at the finals for longbow, for girls longbow, so a 12-year-old girl with a longbow shooting at 30 meters, the last 3 arrows were 2 X's and a 10 for a longbow. And that is kind of awesome. So I helped her. I stood behind her and coached her. And then I said, oh, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe I actually do know something about mental preparation for archery. So I'll write a leaflet or a pamphlet. But when I reached page 25 something, I thought, well, it's not really a leaflet anymore, is it? It's a book. So that's how I made the book. And well, yeah, that's it.
Well, that's outstanding. I love the backstory. So if you had to, we probably need to really maybe record separately and talk about the book in its entirety in some ways. But what, I guess, a synopsis. Give me, what is the message? And I think you and I have probably touched upon it actually in comments on Facebook, talking to Morten, as a matter of fact, we're having that discussion. But what is the concept? What is the foundation of the message that the book is communicating with the person reading it?
Well, the foundation of the book is, well, first of all, I want to get people to stop just shooting a lot of arrows without thinking about how to shoot them, because just shooting a million arrows a day isn't going to get you anywhere. You're going to be better and better and better, but as Morten was on, you're going to at some time reach a plateau, and you won't get any better if you just keep on shooting arrows without thinking about them. So I want people to actually think about the arrows that they shoot. That's one thing. And the other thing I've put in the book is, if you make a plan how to go on from here to your next level and stick to that plan, it doesn't really matter how bad or how good that plan is. As long as you have a plan and you stick to it, you are probably going to get better. And then, of course, enjoy shooting and have fun, and make sure that you shoot your arrows to the best of your ability and let everyone else worry about their own arrows. And one of the things that I really like that I put in the book is the most important arrow that you have is the one that's currently nocked. So if you shoot that one arrow to the best of your ability, then you're good to go.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of the wrap up of the book.
No, I think that's perfect, because like I said, I think we may have to record separately, and maybe once I get the book, and we can maybe talk just about the book. But
Sure.
The idea of teaching that you need to focus on the arrow that's in the bow is sometimes it's just skipped over, and it doesn't matter what archery you shoot. It's
Exactly.
all disciplines of archery.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about the 30 you just shot in the end prior, or thinking about you just shot 2 10s and thinking about wanting to shoot the third arrow, you can't think about wanting to shoot that third 10. You need to think about, well, how do I get that arrow in the middle?
Yeah.
That's by having a plan within your shot process, having a definitive description of what your perfect shot feels like,
It's the how to get it in the middle. It's not to get it in the middle. It's the how to get it there.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, definitely. John, what do you think? Where do you go when you are shooting and you need to make that arrow count, and it's in one of those? You've been in those high pressure moments more than any of us. Where does your brain go? This actually might be a bad question, because I don't know where your brain goes. But no, in reality, like where do you go when you're standing on the platform at the Classic, or you're at the what was it, the World Fields or something? Like where do you go?
I try to visualize, try to do a lot of visualization, like visualize what that perfect shot feels like, because as an archer, that's your whole goal, is to make that perfect shot, and just surround myself with that feeling, what it feels like, and just try my best to my ability to perform that feeling. Usually that leads to more centers than it does sprayed arrows. So that's where I usually try to eliminate all the extra noise. It doesn't always work, because we are human, but that's where I go to. I try to visualize that feeling of what that perfect shot takes and what it feels like, and all the steps leading towards that shot.
Yeah. Sometimes I think we overemphasize the idea of control, and don't realize that having a relationship with the feeling of what the shot is sort of in some ways the ultimate control. being able to repeat the feeling, there's like an infinite ability to repeat a feeling as opposed to trying to control every little thing, you know. And that's something that I know John and I have talked about sort of extensively when it comes to the idea of allowing the conscious mind to slip or not slip, but switch over to the subconscious mind where that point in the shot happens, and sort of allowing the feeling to take over at the right time. And it's just finding that timing. That is the hard part for most people, especially in barebow, because we don't have a clicker. We don't have a thing in world archery that literally is definitive like shooting Olympic. And in reality, even in Olympic archery and compound archery, it's still supposed to be the same similar process, just a little easier when you have something that says it's time to go, or an aiming device of sorts. That's good. So listening to what John's saying in his description, Morten, and reading Jens' book, like, would you say that as you've started to improve, now you're starting to eclipse that 500 mark more regularly on a regular basis? And even in training, you know, are you finding it that it's easier to organize your thoughts now with each arrow as you move through your archery journey, and now that you're practicing and you're seeing a higher level of results?
Absolutely. It's I, uh, I don't know how to explain it properly, but when I think about what I did when I started and how I do it now, I'm surprised I even hit anything, basically. It's such different stuff that I have to pay attention to, and I'm often finding myself that I skip parts. So I noticed I'm letting down much more now than I used to. I used to shoot almost every time, and now I don't do that anymore. Often the follow-up shot isn't anywhere close to perfect, but it's a stepping stone. It's one step further.
Well, letting down on an arrow, a lot of people can't do it. They have to shoot the arrow they have, or
I was like that.
yeah, or to let down and actually catch a bad arrow. I mean, I've done it a handful of times, for sure, maybe more than that, a lot of times, where you're able to catch an arrow. At least you know your thoughts are organized enough that you're not just letting that arrow fly, you know. But it's where you'll really see a turnaround in your scores. And, you know, I think in my experience is that as you gain the knowledge to understand what's happening on that previous arrow, you know, and what do you need to fix? What did you do wrong? And you start understanding like the finite details of your shot, and you know, the consistency is incredible. Like John does things and says things sometimes where I'm like, well, how do you even know that that's happening? And I know one we've talked about just as an example is, John, you've talked about how like you see a difference in your equipment and how the fingers get, I think your bottom finger gets caught a little bit, or I'm trying to remember what the conversation was. You either changed your equipment setup or poundage to allow a cleaner release, but your bottom finger was getting caught. I think it might have been last year at my place. We're talking about it. You make changes like midway through a tournament. I know other changes, whether it's equipment changes or form changes, that to me is like mind blowing, because I can't even fathom doing it. You know, can you talk to that point in regards to how well you know your shot and what enables you the ability to do that?
A lot of that, well, some of it's experience, but a lot of it is just understanding what your shot is. And like if something's catching on me, I usually pick that up most of the time fairly quickly. Like I'll see just an errant arrow for whatever reason. I'm like, oh, that felt pretty good. And then you shoot another one, and you're like, ah, okay. You know, my bottom finger's slipping a little bit. So I'll quick make a form adjustment. And sometimes it's like, you know, I might be like my bottom finger's catching. I might be like, instead of being at this angle, let me change this a little bit. We're gonna get some light in there. But instead of being at this angle, I might have been down here and it's catching a little bit more, or I'm up here and I'm catching my top finger a little bit more. And I'll see that arrow come off just a little bit in my peripheral. And then I'll quick make a form adjustment on that. But it's just getting to better understand your shot and all the finer intricacies of your shot. Trying to be extremely self-aware of what's going on with you and your shot and all the feeling.
Yeah.
And also there's the experience when you're shooting a shot. Like we were talking about your bottom finger. So if your bottom finger might be slipping a little bit, so instead of catching, you might slip it a little bit. Most people will actually find that the arrows will go a little bit to the left. So if you have an arrow that goes to the left and you don't know why, it could be your finger. So that's by experience, maybe my feel on the finger is not exactly where it's supposed to be. So you have experience to count for that also.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that as you gain experience with the errant stuff, the things that don't go great, you know, it's turning those moments into learning moments and not dwelling on the fact that, oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe I just missed an arrow, or I shot a 3 or shot a 4, and getting so discouraged. It's not that doesn't define who you are. It's just a moment that you need to turn into a learning moment. Okay, well, why did that happen? And what do I need to do to try to fix it? Well, you fall back on your process, right? Morten,
exactly.
Fall back in your process, start from the beginning, remind yourself of every step, get into the feel of a shot, try to make it count, and then move forward. And, you know, so that's what, you know, I think is the hardest thing for all of us. It's just for you, maybe it was you're in the very beginning at that initial level of shooting. Imagine like the first time you shot on camera. What did it feel like? The first time you shot like one of the training tournaments live on Facebook, what did it feel like?
I was scared. I remember putting up the target face. I had pre-written the stuff that I wanted to do, and then I remember pushing the live button, and then you get you know, you tag the people and before you start the thing, and I tried to push it 3 or 4 times before I actually managed to. Everything in my head was just telling me to run away, but I managed to do it, and I didn't do too bad.
No,
I didn't win, but I didn't expect to either.
well, and you can't go into it with the idea of winning. You have to go
No.
shoot one arrow at a time as good as you possibly can. I mean, that's the importance of those, you know, having the ability to shoot even those little things.
Yeah.
Had you not had that experience shooting those live tournaments throughout COVID and through up until now, really, and you know, think about the experience you gained just over that year.
Oh yeah, it is, because the other competitions that I've been to, like I said, I never had a big tournament. We have these small Wednesday night, Friday night, whatever shoots. They are just so much more enjoyable for me.
Good.
Because I don't have to worry about the camera. I don't have to. There are so many more people that could be watching me, and they're still out there. If you just scroll down, you'll eventually find them. And
just wait until you go to the Classic in 2022 and you have PJ Riley in your face with a big fat camera.
Yeah,
Chrissy Lyons about that. We've had that discussion with her from like 2019, you know, and they're very good about the camera, but in reality, you know, in an event like the Classic, there's the excitement of traveling and seeing all these people and hooking up with people
Yeah.
that you know, seen on Facebook. It's so much fun. Like it's literally worth the trip, no matter.
Yeah.
The focus should not be on score at all when you come to the Classic. Just
No.
concentrate on having fun because it is a memorable experience. But you know, then you have somebody like from Cam, and there's video cameras everywhere and stuff. You know, that's where that preparation and being focused on the arrow at, like, you cannot care one iota of what's happening on behind you or what has happened down at the target prior to the arrows that have been shot. You just need to be focused in that moment. And you know, the reason I wanted to talk to you guys, because that is the roadmap. That literally is part of, you put yourself in really stressful situations that are as close to tournament stress as you could, considering COVID. You educated yourself by reading Yen's book. You got a little bit of coaching help. You got some form help, you know, and it's all on your shoulders to make it work. Either you make it work or you kind of just throw it all away, and you made it work and you put the time in, you know. And 520 to some people, like, oh, you know, he shot a 520, big deal. It is a big deal because a year ago you were shooting 430s. There's so many barebow archers out there that are doing the same thing, shooting every day, like Yen said, expecting things to change. They're not doing anything to make a change. They're just shooting. You got to make a change. You have to be committed to the change. Otherwise, the change isn't going to happen, both physically and mentally, you know?
Before I contacted you, I was just shooting. I was showing up at the range. I shot my 50, 60, 100 arrows, whatever. And I went home and came back over again. I can't really remember, at least regularly, doing any drills before I started talking to you.
Yeah, and I mean, and
I really can't.
A lot of the drills that I do are a lot of them are either modifications over what I learned in some ways from John, except for the blind bell. I know John doesn't. John, do you do much blind bell? You do a lot of long holds and draw holds.
But yeah, it's not technically a blind bale.
Yeah,
because I have a target face up there, but
yeah,
I could still work on it unless I go through an extreme major form change, which I haven't in the last like 7 years. But it'd be a lot of aiming drills, shooting drills, but with a blind bale without the blind.
right. Well, and that's kind of what you and I talked about earlier today, and why I'm doing it, because of that form change. You know, the drill I did today, which for everyone watching will be out on video at some point, of some kind. It, you know, form changes are tough to deal with. I'm going through it myself right now, Morten, so I can empathize in some way where that struggle is, because mine was pretty significant. And as John can attest, like, I had a horrible lean, could not get away from the lean, and have since fixed that, but I still every once in a while like venture back to it, you know. And you may do that, but I think now you're probably coming out of that. You're coming out of that leaking back into the old form. You're coming out of that situation. You're progressing because your form has gotten so much better, you know. And now you have only where to go is up, and you know, unless you make any major changes. But yeah.
Excuse me, the kids are
shouting. Oh yeah, you go. That's fine. It's fine.
Mom, where's the meatloaf?
It's all good. I muted you, Morten. I'll ask you to unmute again. Well, I appreciate you joining us, though, and being willing to kind of be vulnerable and talk about your journey, you know. And the fact of the matter is that you're across the pond by quite a ways and got help from multiple people in multiple places. So it's not, you know, while we would always encourage someone to work with a coach one-on-one, I will always advocate for that. If you can work with someone one-on-one, you should do it. It definitely helps if the coach has some barebow experience, but you know, that's not the only option. And there is option to get help. I know John helps a lot of people. I know he gets messages like crazy. you know, we try to reach out and help people as much as we can. You have people like Yen who have written a book that you obviously have found some success with. That book has helped you. It helped you organize your thoughts, helped you, and it probably gained some confidence even without shooting, because you knew what to do going into when the struggle bus arrives. When things get tough, you know how to handle it. So Yen, thank you for writing that book and really putting what your struggle was and the things that you learned in paper and in writing so that others could benefit from it. I
How
think
about we mention the name of the book? I don't think we
I
mentioned the
did
name
in
of
the
the book
beginning,
yet.
but I'll say it again. It's Choose to Be a Winner. That's the name of the book. So Yen, where is the book available? So that those that listen to this can go and maybe order one.
It's available on quite a few of the different archery shops around there, but it's also available on Amazon. But probably the easiest way to find it is actually to go to the website that's for the book, which is choosetobeawinner.com/English. But it has to be a small e in the English, because for some reason websites are case sensitive. So choosetobeawinner.com/English, and that will take you to the English version of the website. There are 2 languages on there, and so you obviously want to choose the English version for English speaking people.
Yeah, for our United States followers and whatnot. Do
But
you
there's
have
also, sorry, there's also some, as Morten was saying, there's also some audio files that I put up there, because as Morten also said, when I was trying to learn something about all this mental stuff, I had a very hard time to finding out how to apply all of this stuff written by psychologists, this and that, into actually doing what I wanted to do. So I put some audio files together to help you get into mental preparation, help you get into visualization as a general thing, but also help you, how do I specifically handle a finals round? So there are audio files on the website, and there's also a training journal that you can download for filling out if you want to do so.
Awesome. All right. I asked before, do you have any other social media besides your personal Facebook page?
I use my personal Facebook page for everything. So my personal Facebook page is going to be, if you follow that, it's going to be full of archery stuff, and it's going to be full of programming stuff, because that's what I also do. And of course, I brew beer and wine and mead, because I'm from the Nordic countries. So we brew our own beer and mead and wine. So there's also a lot of stuff about doing that stuff. So I just mix everything together, because I think that's me. It defines me.
That's awesome. I think we have to make a trip, John. Let's go.
You're welcome. And we have an awesome competition here in October that you would like the format of. It's a 24-hour competition where you're on team with 3 people on each team, and you shoot for 24 hours.
Really? So you all shoot at the same time, or?
You have 1 person from your team is on the shooting line, and
Okay.
the other 2 people might be resting or sleeping or eating or something.
That
But
does
it's a
sound fun.
24-hour shoot.
24-hour shoot and multiple classes?
Yeah, we have, I think it's, well, the classes are more or less open, but we have longbow class, a barebow class, a recurve class, and a compound class, more or less.
And winner is highest amount of points.
Yeah. But also you can win prizes during the shoot, because during the shoot, the tournament organizer will pick out some teams that are close by each other and say, oh, okay, we're going to have a shoot off between these 2 or maybe 3 teams, and the winner will get this Doinker stabilizer set or this whatever, and compound bow or prime bow or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, that is cool. I think we can get Grayson out of retirement and take a trip over to Denmark for that.
Go up there and shoot against Maria.
Yeah.
Maria's from Denmark, isn't she?
Maria's from Denmark, and she normally attends this shoot. She was on the last time the shoot was there. They made a team called Team Kokio, which is a Danish chocolate milk thing. So they all dressed up like chocolate milk bottles.
My kids love that.
It's a themed shoot, sort of. They
Not really. Not really, but her team decided to go all in and dress up like Kokio milk bottles.
We'll be Team Teletubbies.
Oh, that is funny. Oh my gosh. All right. We'll have to talk more about that again. I think you and I will be discussing your book a little bit more in depth down the road. And Morten, thank you for joining us, like I said before, and being vulnerable about the topic. And kind of, I think your journey in some way mimics a lot of barebow archers. And it's important that people understand that everyone's roadmap isn't the same. And when you experience struggle, that you kind of have to stay the course. You can't just fold or just say, well, that's just as good of a shooter as I am. You need to.
You know what's funny is when Morten started, he said he was shooting what, 430s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I was shooting when I started.
Really? So what? 11 years ago now? Is that 11 years?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Roughly.
It's a long time.
Somewhere ballpark. I think when we started the Barebow Project, you were around.
Way back in the day when I was a kid.
How long, John, how long did it take you before we shut this down? How long did it take you to get to 500?
With next to no information available, like 3 or 4 years. Yeah, I started like 440s and 460s and 480s, and then started popping some 500s.
Just to put in retrospect for you, Morten, that's a significant difference. You know,
Yeah.
3 years versus a year, roughly. Well, 2 years, I guess.
It took me 4 or 5 years to start hitting 520.
4 or 5 years to hit 520. When did you hit your first 550, 560?
I don't know if it was indoor nationals like 6 years ago.
Okay.
6 years ago, maybe.
And then all of a sudden it's, that's when, 540s are
well, that's when things became easy because I became more self-aware of what's going on. I fine-tuned a form that fit me perfect, and it was just easier because it was easier understanding my shot and what to do.
Yeah. Now with the information that's out there and multiple platforms and books like Jens and stuff like that, it's definitely, it's definitely an easier trip to the 500. And then it starts to get a little harder. Then once you hit that 520 mark, it's not to bust your bubble, Morten, but once you hit that 520 mark, things do start to get a little more complicated as you venture into the 540. And then, so, it's the finite details really start to make a difference. But, I'm sure that day is going to come for you soon. And I'm proud of you, man. It's awesome to watch your story and the way things have happened.
Well, thank you. You've been a big part of it, actually.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's what we're here for.
That's rare. Frank did a good thing.
Yeah. He'll never admit it. He'll never admit it. All right, man. Well, thank you all once again for joining. We're gonna hang out here and chat a little bit, and thanks for watching once again and listening to the Barebow Project. We'll follow up with some more stuff and make sure you guys check these guys out. Come participate in those online training tournaments. Yeah, and it's time for you to switch to Barebow from Olympic and come join us on the dark side.
Do some reading of.
I've actually
Jens'
gone even
book.
darker, and I've bought myself a compound bow.
You're really on the dark side now.
Well, he didn't buy a Raven, so he didn't go that far.
Everybody, John, you said that, and I think it might have got talked over. Go to choosetobeawinner.com and buy Jens' book and check that out. It's obviously making a difference in multiple archers. Doesn't matter what discipline you shoot. So thanks for watching.